Hey, what's up everybody? So tonight we are going to do some web application auditing. I actually recorded a whole hour and a half of going through all of it, and I totally didn't check beforehand to make sure everything was set up properly, and the audio in for the microphone was not properly configured, and I got none of my audio. Got all the music, but no audio. So here we go for round 2. So I came across this capture the flag, and it's for web application auditing. And I've had some people ask about BurpSuite and auditing web apps, so this was a great opportunity for us to jump into it and check it out. So as you can see, I've already tackled the first 5 levels, which is considered the easy level here. But we're going to go ahead and go through it again. So you're not going to see me fumble and screw up as much. I'm still going to screw up. Some of these I don't even remember what they were, even though I just did them an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. But understand that there was a lot of fumbling around before I got to where I got. But we'll go through it a little bit faster, and I think that makes for a better video anyways, so you don't see every last little mistake. It's good to see the mistakes because it's good to see that thought process on how you got from point A to point B. But anyways, so let's just go ahead and jump into it and see what we got. Alright, so the very first one is right here, 01 Heinz. So we'll go ahead and click on that, and we'll open this baby up. Alright, so we are presented with a page that says, "May the sauce be with you." Now, pretty much the first thing I always do when I'm looking at a web application audit is view the source code, see what's under the hood, what's hiding that we can't see. So let's go ahead and do that now. And this is the reason why. For one, you obviously get to see all the underlying files and everything that makes up the page, and basically what's under the hood. But you can also sometimes find cool little things like this, like comments in the code that were made by the developers. Sometimes you can find Easter eggs there. Sometimes you can find comments that they forgot to take out that they probably didn't want in there. And so as you can see here, we've already found our first flag. So well, I guess we don't have to copy and paste it. I've already done it, but yeah, see, I already solved this. So we'll skip that part, but got the flag. So let's move on to number 2. This one's called forbidden. Let's go ahead and close those out. So, looks like we have an empty page. Like I said, let's go ahead and view the page source, and nothing. That's not good. So we just got flat out nothing. Well, that's annoying. Alright, well, let's go ahead and fire up BurpSuite and see what we can see. Alright, so once you have BurpSuite loaded, you want to make sure you have your web browser configured to proxy through BurpSuite. Because BurpSuite kind of acts like a man in the middle in a sense, and it gives you the ability to do a lot of things, and you'll see. So instead of me just rambling on about it, just you'll see. So first thing you want to do is get into your settings, find your network settings, advanced network settings, go to manual proxy configuration, put in your localhost IP 127.0.0.1. port 8080. Check this box. Click OK. And now you're ready. So right now the intercept is off, but we're going to turn it on. So now whenever we load a page in Firefox, it's going to go through BurpSuite. It's going to stop, and it's going to give us the option. And we have these buttons up here, and those are the options we can select. So we can choose to make some changes to our request and then forward it off, or just leave it as is, forward it off. We can drop it, which means don't send it. Or we can do some other actions that has a whole list of stuff, and you'll see. So let's go ahead and do that now. So let's refresh this page. Alright, it's come through BurpSuite, and it's now stopped right here, and we can see the request right here. And the first thing that jumps out to me is this this cookie. And the main reason, the first thing that's caught my eye is it says auth, short for, authentication or authorization. And then we have what appears to be a hash. Let's go ahead and copy that hash. So let's go ahead and see what kind of hash we're working with here. So most likely it's a SHA one. So let's go ahead and drop that, turn the intercept off, and let's put that hash into Google, see what we come up with. So, okay, here we go. So yeah, there's our hash. So that hash is false. It's the text false. So to me, this seems pretty obvious. Let's go back. Turn intercept on, refresh. So basically, the variable auth is containing the encrypted value of false, which to me says you're not logged in. So if you want to be logged in, why don't you give me the encrypted value true, and maybe we can talk. So let's go ahead and give that a try. So let's just search for the true hash. See if this works. Oh, we need to turn the interceptor off. Let's turn that off. Add exception. Yeah. Oh, why did that load in a new tab? Why did it do that? Oh, I see what you're doing here. So let's just find a website. And we'll just get the... Alright, so there's our hash for true. We'll copy this. And we'll turn the intercept back on. We'll refresh. Okay, now we can change our auth value right here. So right here is false. I'm going to paste in true. And then I'm going to now forward this request, this modified request. And there you go. We have our flag. Now I ran into the problem. One of the problems I ran into when I was doing this first time was I got the logic right. I figured out that, okay, this is the encrypted value false. It probably needs to be true. So I encrypted it, but what I used to give me the hash gave it to me in all capital letters. Now if you look, notice the hash that we got was all lowercase. It's not shown here. So I kept, pasting it in and trying different things, and it wasn't working. It was because it was all caps. So that makes a difference. So anyways, I pasted it in and we got our next flag. So let's go ahead and move on. Let's turn our interceptor off, go back. So we can see we already have the flag right there. So we'll just close that out. We'll move on to the next one. Number 3, Bobby. Oh, that was weird. Just push that. Alright. So let's check out Bobby. Bobby. Reminds me of Timmy. Okay. Oh no, almost out of go juice. So, first thing first, check out the source. Let's see what's under the hood. So we have an H1 tag, form tag, couple inputs, and a button. So there's nothing out of the ordinary here, just some basic input fields and a submit button. Let's go ahead and turn our interceptor on, refresh this, and see if there's anything else being sent. Any other cookies? Nope. Alright, so let's just start playing with it. So let's see if maybe okay. Yeah, as you probably noticed, actually, let me go ahead and just do this. Jeez, I don't even remember how to do it anymore. Let's leave our cookies alone. That way I just don't give away too many secrets as we're doing this. Alright, so I entered in the apostrophe and then we got back this error. You have an error in your SQL syntax. Haha, well that tells me we're probably dealing with a SQL injection because we were able to input a SQL specific character and it was accepted, meaning the source code is not sanitizing our user input. So that means we can modify this query and potentially modify it to a point where we can use it to bypass the login and be able to log in without a username and password. So let's start poking at it. Alright, for this I'm going to turn the intercept off because for this I'm really not going to need it. Alright, so from experience, I already knew, or it seemed like this was most likely vulnerable to one of the most fundamental SQL injections. And that's the whole 1 equals 1 to bypass the login and password, which is what we have here. So, if you would have eventually figured out that, oh, hey, this is some sort of SQL thing, and went and did some research and did like SQL injection, you would have found this scenario to be one of the first scenarios you probably would have read about. It's, very common and kind of almost like the hello world of SQL injections. And basically how it works is you have a query that looks something, not exactly, but basically it's something like this. So many languages, I always get my syntax mixed up. We'll just pretend this is just basic pseudocode, so it may not be 100% accurate, but you get the idea. So basically you would have some code like this. So basically give us the authorization key from the users table, where the username equals username and password equals the password. Yeah, that's right. So basically you have to have the correct username and the correct password. Otherwise the query is not going to return the auth key. But if you could somehow modify this, and we know we can, at least by the username field. Matter of fact, let's check and see if we can modify the password as well. So input the apostrophe. Yep. Okay. So that means we can modify the query right here, and we can modify the query right here. But we want to modify it right here because this precedes the password. Remember, we don't know what the password is, so we want to get rid of this. So basically, we want to end up with a query that looks like this. So basically, give us authorization if username equals username, or 1 equals 1, and 1 will always equal 1. So even if we don't have the right username, it doesn't matter, because as long as 1 equals 1, we'll still be able to get in, because only one of those conditions has to be true, and 1 equals 1 will always be true. So this is what we're going for. And you can see we got rid of the all password section, and we can do that by using SQL's commenting characters. So we basically comment out everything after this, so it basically just deletes that whole end of the query. So let's go ahead and see if we can make this work. By the way, guys, I don't know if I said this already, but it's like almost midnight. I've hardly slept the last few nights. I'm like brain dead, so excuse me if I just seem basically stupid. Alright, so I'm going to start poking around with obviously the 1 equals 1. So let's start doing that. So we're going to put in our apostrophe. That's going to close off that username section. And then we're going to put in our new code. It'll be or 1 equals 1. And this is where we want our query to end. We don't want that password part to process. So we're going to delete it by putting in the SQL comment characters. And that's --. So I can't remember if we have to have something for the password, but we can put something in. It doesn't matter. It's not going to get ran. So I just put in letter F for the password. So let's go ahead and run this, and if I did everything right, it should do something. What? I don't know, but hopefully it'll give us a flag. And that did not work. So you have an error. Check to use near F. So something with the F. The F got it screwed up. So how I mentally thought the query worked in my head doesn't seem to be reality. You gotta remember, we don't even know what the query looks like. You know, we can't see it. Their query does not look like the one I just showed you, but that was just kind of a representation. So let's start playing with this some more. So let me put another apostrophe in for the password, because I feel confident the username field is right, this apostrophe or 1=1 comment. And the error was specifically complaining about the value I put into the password field. So I'm going to focus on the password field. So I put in an apostrophe for the password field. Let's just see what happens. Ta-da! We got our flag. Alright, perfect. So let's back up so you can see for the username we have the apostrophe, space, or space 1=1, and then our comments, which is dash dash, and that deletes the whole password part. And honestly, I'm not sure why I had to have something in that password, or the apostrophe in the password field, because in my mind that should be getting cut out of the query and not even be relevant and being processed, but apparently that's not the case, and I really don't know because I can't see the query. But it doesn't matter, we got the flag. Moving on. And there's a flag. Alright, so moving on to number 4. Competition. Something like that. Sad times. Starting a collection over here. Alright, so here we are with another login screen. And what do when we start out? We look under the hood. Alright, and just like all the others, pretty straightforward form, nothing fancy. But the interesting thing we have here is we have this little link that says source. Let's click on it. Alright, so obviously this appears to be the source code for the login form that we were just looking at. So let's go ahead and look over this real quick. We have a flag. So obviously our flag is inside there and we want to get access to this variable somehow. We have a username and password that's also hidden from us, so we don't know what the username and password is. Somehow we want to get access to that information. Alright, then we have these two if statements. So this first line is basically saying, do we have a value for username and do we have a value for password? If that's true, then move on. If not, then just exit out. Just show them the form. Don't even say nothing to them, just give them the login form. If they do have a username and password, then we move on to the next if statement. And this if statement, it says if string compare username, that's this username that's hard-coded, compared to the username that the user inputted into the login field. If those two strings compare, that should result in a 0. And if that's true, and the same thing for the password also matches up, then go ahead and echo the flag to the screen, or to the web page. So when you're looking at this, there's not a whole lot there. I mean, you basically want to start stripping away what's not of any value to you. Get rid of, it's like taking a multiple choice test. get rid of those answers that you know are wrong and just look at, you know, what's a possibility. And I think that holds true a lot of time when you're looking at dealing with really any kind of problems, whether it be auditing code or really just you know, trying to penetrate a box. Strip away all the stuff that doesn't matter and just look at the data that holds some sort of value to you, and just focus your attention on that. So let's go through this code and get rid of what we don't need. So we don't need the flag. There's nothing we can do with that. Nothing we can do with the username. We have this if statement. We'll hold on to that. We have this second if statement. And that's it. That's all we really have. So really we have two if statements to try to poke a hole into somehow to move forward. So let's take a look at that. Alright, so the first one, I mean, it's just asking, you know, it's basically saying, is what the user posted, is it null? You know, if it's not null, meaning did they enter a value, then move on. So there's really nothing to exploit there. The isSet function is not exploitable, at least to my knowledge. So let's move on to the next line. And the next line is the string compare. And that's really all we have going on that line, is we have two instances of the string compare. I think it's called string compare, or should that be something else? But that's really the only function we have going on there. So let's go ahead and take a look at the PHP documentation for this function and see what it has to say. So it takes two string values, which we knew. So returns less than 0 if string 1 is less than string 2, greater than 0, string 1 is greater than string 2, and 0 if they are equal. That last part's what focuses, or what's important to us, because that's how this code works here. If this username equals this username, then we should get a 0, and if we get a 0, that means true. So, and here's a little example. Alright, so now what I would want to do is this function exploitable? Is there some way I can take advantage of this function to cause it to do something that probably wasn't intended to do? So whenever I'm in a situation and I don't know if this particular function is vulnerable to anything, I just go to Google and type in the function name and exploit. So let's try that. So immediately we find some stuff. Let's look at this. Okay, and then as you can see, here's a blog post about a guy who was doing a capture of flag and came into a similar application, a similar situation, and he talks about, you know, how you can exploit this. So, you know, if you weren't aware of how, you know, the string compare function can be exploited, you know, doing proper research, you eventually would have come across, you know, posts like this that instruct you how to do it. And basically, how it works is you pass in an array instead of just a single variable, and that allows you to get a you know, your value of 0 without actually entering in any sort of username or any password. It's pretty simple. Hopefully I'm not sitting here breathing into this mic. It really annoys me. So anyways, let's go ahead and try to exploit this. So let's get back over to our application. And this is the code. So we have the inputs for username and password. So let's go ahead and turn BurpSuite on. Let's just put in a simple password, username and password of A. Let's see what we get. Forward that and oh, bad login. All right. So let's do that again. And this time we're going to modify our request, and all we need to do is turn our variable into an array. And how you do that is just add brackets to it. I think these are brackets. Those things right there. So just add it to username, and you also need to add it to password, because remember, it's doing the check for the username and password. They both have to equal 0, otherwise the if will fail. So we set the username to an array, and we set the password to array. And based on the way the string compare function works, even though we don't have a username or a password, it's still going to return the value of 0. Even though it's not doing what the programmer really expected or intended it to do, it's still going to give us a 0. So let's go ahead and give that a try. So we'll forward that packet, and bingo, there's our flag. Awesome. Alright, so let's move on to, I believe, is that the last flag? Yeah, we just did that one. Let me check and make sure. Oh, turn burp off. Yeah. Alright, so we are on to Oreo. Alright, so we have a login and create an account here. So let's turn BurpSuite on and just see if we have any. Alright, exactly. We have a cookie here, and we have a PHP session ID. And session ID, that's like your, basically like your authorization. You know, websites can use this to authorize you to a website. So whenever you log in, it's at your session ID, and if somehow somebody were to capture that session ID, they could simply put that in their cookie, and then they could log in as you without entering in any sort of password or anything. So that's how session IDs, you know, session hijacking happens. So let's take a look at this application and see what we have going on. So that's really the only thing of interest that I saw with that request. So we'll forward that. Let's go ahead and look at the login page. And as always, view source. Nothing of value. Let's go back. Let's check out the account page. Create account, username, password. Let's go ahead and create an account. Account ABC, password 123. Actually, let's play with it some. Let's just try. It's funny. So no SQL. So let's just create an account ABC123. Alright, account created. So let's go back. Let's log in. Alright, so we're logged in. Welcome back, ABC. So we have two options. We can log out, or we can look at tickets. So I think we should look at tickets. Alright, no tickets have been lodged. We have a link, create tickets. I think we should create a ticket. Still, all we got is our session ID. I just had this nagging feeling that I wasn't recording. I have to check now. Okay, I'm recording. Phew. So, oh, what am I doing? It's like when you leave on a long road trip and you get like 3 hours away from home and then you think, oh, did I leave the oven on? Alright, so getting back to it. So we have two fields. Let's look at the source. And again, nothing fancy. Alright, so let's close that. So let's just go ahead and create a ticket and see what we get going on. So test, create session ID, going to create ticket, parameters, nothing out of the ordinary. Your ticket to be created. We will check it very shortly. Oh, that's kind of you. Alright, so there's our ticket, unread. So let's click it. And we can see test. So let's see if starting this off, let's see if there's any SQL stuff going on here. No SQL injection. No, these wouldn't allow system execution. I was going to see if maybe this got piped through a command. As if it did, then we could try something similar to SQL injection, but it's more for command line scripts and shell scripts. I don't know. I would just like to throw a lot of data in the fields. Let's just see what happens. No, our tickets were red. That was awfully nice of them. No problems there. Can I delete a ticket? I don't want that ticket on my screen. Oh well. So let's try for cross-site scripting. It didn't work. Well, hey. Let's look at that. Well, our script didn't work in the body. It did work for the title. So alright, so we know that the app is vulnerable to a cross-site scripting attack. Alright, so let's think about this. And again, going back to what do you know about the situation at hand? Take all that information, collect it, focus on that, kind of put everything else, kind of push it to the side for a second. So we know the site's vulnerable to a cross-site scripting attack. We know that there's session IDs being used. Those two together, that's connects the dot. What else do we know? Well, we know that this is an application where the user submits basically like a trouble ticket to a help desk. And then the help desk people read these tickets and obviously deal with the issue. So generally with cross-site scripting, you're basically trying to perform an action as another user or to steal credentials so you can log in as that user. Well, I think by just focusing on what we do know and what information we do have, we've kind of just already, the path that we need to go down has been laid out for us. We need to steal the credentials, basically the PHP session ID from the help desk, administrators. So we can do this because we're able to inject our own JavaScript code, and JavaScript has access to the cookies and gives us a language to write code to do other things. Because now that we know what we need to do, now we need to figure out how we're going to do it. So we need to somehow get the administrator's session cookie and transfer that to us somehow. So how are we going to get that cookie ID to us? The first idea, this is kind of crazy, is to write code that will hardcode our current session cookie ID into the code. It will then basically update the administrator's cookie ID with our cookie ID. So now the administrator is basically logged in as us. I'm sorry, we need to back up actually. So the first thing it would do would record the administrator's cookie to a variable. Then it would log in as me. Then it would create a new ticket, and in the description of the ticket it would put the administrator's session ID into that ticket. It would then log it back into the administrator and then refresh the page so it would minimize what the administrator actually saw. And then I could log in as myself, go read that ticket, and then copy the administrator's cookie ID. But that's a lot of work, and there's a lot of things to go wrong, and also the form uses post, so we'd have to use Ajax with the JavaScript, and that's not saying it's impossible. It's creating a lot of links, and the more links you have, the greater chance you have of something breaking. There's more potential failure points, so we need to come up with a more simplified method of getting that cookie ID into our hands. So the next idea I had that I fooled around and tried with that did not work was trying to inject the cookie ID into an image tag. And okay, let me back up here. So finally I came up, had the idea that if I could load HTML into that ticket, in which I can, that I would then inject a image tag that was requesting a image on a web server that I had access to, and that image name would be the actual administrator's cookie ID. So the idea is basically I need a web server that I have access to so I can read the log files, and then form some JavaScript code that will basically ask for an image from my web server with the admin's cookie ID. Then I can read the log files, copy, and then I'd be able to copy the administrator ID from there. Alright, hopefully that all made sense to you, and if not, just go ahead and watch it, and we'll go ahead and do that now. So, first thing first, let's go ahead and get our let me do this so we have a fresh log file so you're not looking at my past attack. I can't spell. I guess it really doesn't matter. Will that actually clear it out? I don't think it will. Yeah. Was that's annoying. Alright, so got that. Actually, alright, so we got our log file down there. So now we need some JavaScript. So I'm just going to write it in here. So like I said, initially I was trying to load the image tag and render that into HTML. It's just it wasn't working. There's no body tags or any sort of fields in there with IDs. I tried to add a div with an ID. For whatever reason, that didn't work either. So then what I ended up doing is just copying the administrator cookies to a variable, and then using the JavaScript window open function to open up the URL, and that's how I got it to load. So let's do that. So variable for admin cookie, document.cookie, and then window.open, and then our URL. Cookie. Let's stay consistent. Alright, I think that's it. Let's make sure that's all looks good. Alright, I think that'll work. So let's get this all. Alright, put that into our title. Let's put some junk in here. Create our ticket. Alright, that worked. So it should have just ran for us. I'm not sure if it actually created it. And if it did just run for us, we should see something in the log file. I don't see anything. So I'm not so sure that worked. So this is actually how I did it. I found that it is sanitizing the description input field, but only the lowercase script. If you capitalize it, it doesn't catch it, and you can run scripts in there. So we're going to run it in here, and I think this is good. So let's go ahead and give this a go. Ticket was created. Okay, we can see our ticket there. And it says it's red. Not seeing anything in the log. I want to make sure that think something's wrong here. So it works, but not seeing anything in the log file. Wonder if I screwed it up when I replaced it somehow, some way. Oh, yeah, probably did. So let's do this. Let's just put the old one back. Let's just get back in there. Okay. So let's refresh this. I'm going to restart the web server. Let's try this again. Okay, it worked that time. So, here we go. That is the administrator's cookie session ID. So you can see that it has a GET request. Oh no, that's actually us. That's right. That's not the administrators. We just did that, but it's working now. So I had to restart Apache. I don't know why I had to do that. Probably because I moved the log file while it was running. All right. So, anyways, now let's view this source and let's try this again. So basically, just need to run this one more time. So go back. Create a new ticket, whatever, paste in that, create the ticket, cancel, and then we just need to wait for this to move as soon as the ticket gets read. Alright, there it goes. And here's our session ID of the administrator. Alright, so now we copied that. So now what we want to do is we want to log in as the admin. So let's turn Burp back on. Let's go ahead and refresh our page. And this is our session ID. Let's go ahead and paste in the admins. Click forward. Cross our fingers. Awesome. And you can see, welcome back, administrator. We are not the administrator. So we only have two options. We can click the admin button or we can log out. So let's click the admin link. Oh, I forgot to forward with the administrator's session ID. I should have just set that. So let's refresh again. Turn it back on. Refresh. Replace it. Forward. Boom. Got the last flag. Right there. So there you have it. The first 5 levels down. Let's go look at the scoreboard. So there's 100 people, and where are we? We're at 40 with the first 5 levels. Alright guys, so there you have it. That's some very basic use of BurpSuite, but nonetheless very effective. And you just saw we just knocked out basically 5 challenges using just the proxy and repeater function. There's a lot more to it, and hopefully we'll be able to get into some of those more advanced features as we progress through some of these challenges. I'll probably do some more videos of this capture the flag. So yeah, that's gonna do it, guys. Thanks for watching. If you like the videos, give me a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe so you can check out all my future videos. And if you have any friends who might be interested, please feel free to pass the link on to them. I appreciate it. I'm going to get some sleep because I'm about to pass the heck out. I will see you guys on the other side.